What's up guys, welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
Unless you are serious about antagonizing her, know that laying a hand on Chloe will make us enemies.
Ruminas seemed like she was also secretly upset and joined Leon in berating Guy. Normally, it would have been foolish to declare outright who you thought of as a loved one, but with Guy, the opposite was true. There was no stopping him if he truly became hostile towards Chloe. Those two thought of it this way, and so they demanded he not lay a finger on her.
Okay, I don't want any trouble either. As long as she doesn't get in my way, I won't mess around with your precious thing.
Surprisingly, Guy was rather understanding, and so the safety of Chloe was secured. Meanwhile, our beloved Chloe was far stronger than any of us, but it was probably better to keep that to myself. The sun was already setting when the meeting ended. Shuna had thankfully prepared dinner, so we moved to a different location and started the banquet. Or rather, there was no sign of anyone wanting to leave until we ate. On today's menu was kakuni pork, well, a monster substitute, with fried eggplant and tofu. That was paired with miso soup and freshly made rice, more specifically, a pure black rice called magic black rice as the sides. This wasn't one of our multi-course meals, given that today's meeting was unplanned, so I refused to hear any complaints.
What is this? There's no tempura.
Ruminas grumbled aloud. Who knew she was such a big fan of it?
It's all right, Ruminas. This should be very tasty as well. You must not underestimate Rimaru's obsession with food.
Hinata took my side out of nowhere. Not sure how I should take that kind of compliment if that's the only thing I'm getting praised for. Oh well, moving on. Thus, the banquet continued, and it appeared that everyone was satisfied.
I see. Your country's dishes are somewhat okay too.
Guy noted, sounding impressed.
It has a strange taste, but at this level, I suppose it passes.
Given how Leon completely finished his food without any complaints, I decided to take it as his way of praising me.
What Hinata said is right. This is another abnormal dish, but it is remarkably delicious.
It's amazing as usual. It's a taste that I've really missed. Getting another chance to eat this meal makes me glad to be alive.
Ruminas appeared content, and Hinata was extremely overjoyed. No, come to think of it, isn't this the first kakuni pork and rice she's had in 2,000 years?
Maybe white rice would have been better?
Thank you for your concern. I've already gotten used to these kinds of odd-looking foods.
I see, that's a relief. If Hinata lived inside Chloe for 2,000 years, she would have seen a lot of varied dishes, and that explained her indifference towards the color. Even before that, she must have been unable to taste food, unlike Chloe. Perhaps it was because she could only get visual information, but the simple fact that she could finally taste what she ate was enough to make her emotional. When I imagined Hinata's situation this way, it made sense for her to be so thoroughly impressed. In the end, the banquet concluded with favorable feedback. The demon lords quickly prepared to leave as soon as they were done eating. While it would have been nice for them to stay a bit, since they already finished their business here, they had no plans to prolong their visit.
Chloe, if you don't like it here, don't hesitate to call me. I will come get you right away.
Leon said sourly, seemingly refusing to give up. There was a major dispute on the topic of who would take care of Chloe.
My friends are here, and I like the place where Rimuru-san is.
Although we all respected Chloe's decision, I had my doubts that Leon would so readily accept it. After all, Leon hadn't even tried to hide his clinginess with Chloe. Despite my reservations about the methods he chose, ultimately, his desire to protect Chloe was genuine. And Leon's feelings were clearly conveyed to her as well.
Oh Ni-chan, I was very happy to know that you were concerned for me, but you don't have to worry like that, because I am not a little kid anymore.
Chloe said as she hugged him. Leon gave a gentle smile and patted Chloe's head. They were childhood friends who grew up together like siblings, but Leon sincerely cared about Chloe. She finally let go of him and changed to her adult form.
See? If I borrow Chronoa's power, I can change back to my grown-up form, so Oni-chan doesn't have to worry about me anymore.
Chloe beamed happily, as if she were trying to reassure Leon. That smile had devastating power. It was, how should I put it, enchanting. It was an ephemeral smile, yet at the same time, made me feel her strength of heart, a smile filled with charm.
I see. You have become an amazing woman, but that won't change the fact that I care about you. You may rely on me anytime.
Leon declared to Chloe with a tender smile on his face. As one would expect from Mr. Handsome Leon, it was an exceptionally mature-looking move, befitting of an adult. I can only hope to imitate something like that. I thought to myself from the sidelines, but then, Leon suddenly turned around and stared at me coldly. The difference was quite drastic. Really drastic.
Chloe said that she became an adult, don't tell me you.
No, I'm asexual, so there's no way that can happen.
He was even making terrible assumptions. When he faced me, that previous sense of handsome maturity had all but disappeared. I desperately tried to plead my case, and I thought he understood after Chloe noticed the topic of our conversation and got angry, but apparently, it was superficial.
I believe you are already well aware of this.
Leon whispered to me as he left.
But never do anything that would expose Chloe to danger.
Although I did think that he was being overprotective, Leon had used every tool at his disposal to look for Chloe, who got swept up in the world transfer along with him, so it wasn't as though I couldn't understand his worry, either. On the bright side, he also returned home quietly. I promised to bring Chloe for a visit next time, and thanks to her, we might be able to establish diplomatic relations with El Dorado, which Demon Lord Leon ruled over. It was a bit annoying since he felt like a brother-in-law, but I had to live with it.
Well, I suppose you have settled down where you are comfortable. Chloe, you are an important friend to me. I'm here for you if you ever need anything, so don't hesitate to ask me for help. Please take care of yourself.
Just like Leon, Ruminas also fretted over Chloe. As for her, she felt like a sister-in-law, but obviously, I didn't dare say that out loud. It was best to let sleeping dogs lie. Ruminas said her goodbyes and departed with her entourage. Since Hinata was also gone, the only person that remained was Guy. When I turned my head to see if he would leave, I saw Diablo still glued to his side. He began to speak.
Now then, shall we continue what I wasn't able to finish a while ago?
No, I've heard enough of that already, so it's quite alright.
Guy reassured.
There is no need to be shy.
Stop giving me weird invitations.
What the heck are you doing, Diablo?
Then I have no other choice. Let's change the subject to the topic you wanted to hear about. The task Testarossa and the other girls took, and anecdotes about Rimuru-sama.
Just how much does this guy want to talk? I looked at him in dismay, and Guy appeared to feel the same way.
No, you guys seem extremely busy right now, so I'll come by again when things settle down.
Guy urgently declined and quickly ran away. I was strangely impressed by the fact that even Guy had times where he was taken aback. After witnessing such an unexpected side of him, it made me think he wasn't the unreasonable type. I still couldn't afford to be careless around him, but maybe I didn't have to worry as much as I thought. Since he accepted that Chloe was a hero, I guess we could tentatively declare that all the big problems had been dealt with. Now, the only things left unsettled were Yuki's movements and the intentions of the Eastern Empire, where he ran off to. I would put aside whether or not we would trust Yuki for now. A war, huh? I sighed quietly to myself. Solve one problem and another pops up. I felt depressed and thought about how nice it would be if things became peaceful again soon. In spite of the fact that it was a verbal agreement, it was still a notable achievement that we were able to establish cooperation with two different demon lords. If a war truly broke out, just having allied countries that you could trust was something that made you feel more confident. I could expect support and, worst case scenario, they could consider taking in refugees. Although, the best possible outcome was having no war in the first place. This all depended on how the other side acted, so all we could do was simply wait. Since there was nothing I could accomplish by complaining, I decided to devise countermeasures. First, we had to begin defensive preparations and ensure that if we wound up waging war with the Empire, we could handle them. Let's be prepared for anything. I silently strengthened my resolve.
Volume 12, Chapter 2. Outcomes and Preparation. Part 1.
Several months passed since the meeting with Guy and the other demon lords. Time quickly flew by. It had already been 1 year since I became a demon lord, attended the Walpurgis, had the fight with Hinata, celebrated the founding festival, and dealt with the confrontation concerning Mariabelle and the Rosso family. Maybe it was because so much had happened, but the past year really went by in a flash. We had concluded the Tempest Resurrection Festival in private and the Empire had yet to make a move. However, according to the information gathered by Zoe and Moss, supplies were being delivered one after another to major cities along the border. Now that their actions went this far, it didn't take a genius to figure out what was happening. A war was brewing on the horizon. Since armed conflict was all but certain, the screening of humans and monsters alike entering Tempest began to be strictly enforced. We wouldn't be able to welcome anyone willy-nilly. Only authorized adventurers, merchants, and those with referrals or other credentials would have the right to enter. It was a precaution to safeguard against spies, but there was another reason as well. to sort out the entrance. Not all visitors to our country were human, and the abilities of individuals ranged widely. Many of the strangers were uncivilized, and if we accepted them in large numbers, we wouldn't be able to keep up with them. After all, there was no way to stop idiots from running amok, despite strictly forbidding fighting in the city. We had barriers in place for that exact reason, but it was still difficult to completely prevent the usage of magic. These were the drastic differences between a human-populated city and a city with monsters. Thus, we consulted with Gazel and decided to follow the example of the Dwarven Kingdom. We had decided to educate the entrants a little about the rules of our country at the time of their entry. That was what the entry inspection was all about. As for those who wished to migrate to our country, a more formal preparation was a priority. We set up a separate, dedicated place that they could attend. It was only after they finished learning how things worked in our country that they were ultimately admitted. Xian's men were best suited for this job, since they could deal with even the most violent of people and put them in their place. This system would be continued in the future since it also helped to detect spies from the Empire. At the time of inspection, visitors were screened and asked why they were visiting. Preventing the influx of people who didn't have money was one way to prevent unnecessary trouble. There were a lot of normal inns near the Colosseum, but the people that used those weren't very wealthy. The accommodations for the upper class had become very luxurious in the capital city Rimuru. Hence, rich merchants and nobles, as well as people arriving for a vacation, were guided to high-class hotels. While one might argue that memories were priceless, I don't tolerate such sophistry. My goal was for tourists to enjoy their vacation in the spirit of, you get what you pay for. Prices ranged from as low as 30 silver coins per night for ordinary guests to a gold coin or more for wealthy merchants and lower-class noblemen. But there was essentially no upper limit, as we even had rooms prepared that cost 10 gold coins and more. Wait, why am I advertising? Well, this was how we segmented things. I wanted to make Tempest a tourist hotspot, so we'd been trying our best to advertise our city by gifting vouchers for high-class inns to merchants who made large deals with us, and to those who beat floor 10 of the labyrinth. Our strategy was well received by the challengers of the labyrinth. The widely known exquisite quality of our food was a tremendous motivator. The meals alone cost more than 10 silver coins. Considering that you could stay at a cheap inn for just 3 silver coins, you might feel that this was absurdly expensive. However, one might wish to indulge in luxury once in a blue moon, and some people certainly had that kind of cash from challenging the labyrinth. As hosts, it was our job to offer places for those types of people to spend money on, too.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shout out to MTA, the new member of AnimeKouhai sponsors. Thank you so much for helping out. Shout out to the commenters, Wabalabadubdub, MTA, Chadvota, Rembaru, Paichniriya Gaming, Arizona, Echo Plasma, Mr. XYZ, and last but not least, shout out to Ronald Estocado. I'll see you guys in the next video.